Hey everyone, I'm Dani, and today we're talking about informational interviews. So before we get into it, if you're the kind of person that prefers to read instead of watch a video, I have 3 whole blog posts on this topic linked in the description below. It's a full guide for young professionals on how to do a successful informational interview. Or if you're the kind of person that prefers to listen to something, maybe you're driving or whatever, instead of watching a video, I also have a podcast link down below that gives you a little bit of different info. It's me and my best friend Sarah. We do have a podcast called the Core Life Crisis Club, where you can hear us talk about and share both of our experiences, differing experiences, and our opinions on informational interviews. Let's get started. Now, I'm not sure when you're watching this, but right now, at the time of my recording, we are in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. So that means that a lot of people are staying home, a lot of people are unemployed, and a whole class of graduates have just graduated and are trying to enter the workforce to not ideal circumstances. As a young professional, the job market right now is pretty scary, and if you're like me, you're probably wondering, how in the world am I supposed to advance my career? What am I supposed to be doing right now when I'm stuck at home every day? That's why I want to introduce to you informational interviews. They are an amazing thing that you can do from anywhere. You can meet people in person when that's allowed again. You can meet people by phone, by video chat. You can even do one via email if you want. Everything can be done completely virtually, and they have some amazing benefits. So let's start with the basics. What's an informational interview? It's basically like a backwards interview where you, instead of being the interviewee asking for the job, you're kind of interviewing people on what they already do. You're getting information on what they do, how they got where they were, and you're also making connections and you're networking. You probably hear that a lot in networking. It's like, how do I do it? I can't just like meet people at a coffee shop right now. So this is how. There's a couple great benefits to informational interviews. First off, if you're considering working for a specific company, this gives you the inside scoop of what it's like to work there and what it's like to be in their position. Second, if you don't really know what you want to do next, this gives you great insight from someone who's doing it right now. You get to learn about a career path you didn't know existed. You get to learn about an industry that you weren't sure if you were interested in from someone who has the dirty details and does it every day. Third, this is a great way to start a professional relationship with someone, and like we said before, network. Fourth, and this is my favorite one, you could potentially get a referral for a future job. That's how I got my current role, and I definitely would not be where I am currently if it weren't for a specific informational interview that I did. Fifth, you get to learn how someone got to a position that you admire or a place that you want to be in the future, and you can apply kind of their steps and what they did to your own situation. Lastly, informational interviews set you up to get free career advice from someone who is a professional in your industry or is in a role that you admire. Alright, before we go on, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience with informational interviews. Last year, I got an entry-level role into the entertainment industry, which is something I've been trying to break into for forever and is incredibly competitive. While I was in this entry-level role, it was a 1-year contract, and I knew that my time there was limited. I needed to make as many connections as possible. I needed to do everything that I could to find a role at the time that my contract was going to be over. So during my year there, I did about 20 informational interviews. It was a lot. But at the end of the day, it was one of my last ones that resulted in getting me the job that I currently have, which is at a highly competitive company within the highly competitive entertainment industry. When I started my informational interviews, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to do something to do with marketing and something to do in the entertainment industry, but I didn't really know what path exactly. There's a lot of different options just within those possibilities. So I met with a ton of people, and they all gave me career advice. I learned what they did, and I learned what I liked about what they did and what I didn't like. And honestly, my favorite part was at one point I was meeting with someone who does PR, and I was talking with her. She was telling me all about her job. I told her about myself. We were chatting, went really well, and then she looked at me and went, "Dani, you don't want to do this." I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You don't want to do PR. I'm going to tell you what you want." And I was like, "Yes, please tell me what I want. That's why I'm here. I want you to tell me what I should do with my life. I want you to tell me what you see in me that maybe I don't see, what sort of interests that you see in me that lead to paths that you know about that I don't know about." And overall, it really helps. Alright, so now that I've sold you on doing an informational interview, let's talk about actually setting one up. So first thing you're going to want to do is identify people that you want to meet with. I recommend reaching out to as many people as you can. What I did was I started, because I was in a new role, I started with people that were within my team. That way I could get to know them better and kind of start a professional relationship within the team as well, which helped them better, connect at work. After I learned more about my immediate team within my company, then I started reaching out to people that I thought were interesting within the company that I still worked for. So for example, someone presented at a meeting and I thought that what they presented was really interesting and I wanted to learn more about what they did with that information. So I reached out to them and I told them, "Hey, I really liked your presentation. want to meet up for coffee. I'm trying to figure out what to do with my life. And they loved it, and we met up, and it was fantastic. From there, everything for me kind of snowballed. At the end of each interview, I'd ask people, hey, who do you recommend that I reach out to next? Who else do you think I should talk to? And I would get connections from connections. People would, introduce me to people that they knew, and before I knew it, I had met with people in different places within the same company. Now, if you want to network outside of your company, there are a couple steps that you can take. First of all, think of your friends and people that you know that work at different companies that you're interested in, or other industries that you're interested in, and ask them if they can connect you with a coworker. Another good way to get an informational interview is to reach out to someone on LinkedIn. Maybe go on LinkedIn and look up people that went to the same school as you, or go to your career center at your college and find your alumni network. And reach out to people that work in the industry that you're interested in, that also went to school with you. People are a lot more likely to say yes to someone if you have something in common, for example, being an alumni at the same university. I also want to say as a disclaimer that while it may be your instinct to try to ask someone higher up at like a VP level or above that you can meet with them, but I gotta say that my most beneficial informational interviews have been with people just 1 or 2 steps above where I currently am. For example, if you're an intern right now and your next common step within your industry is to go up to an assistant, meet with assistants. You might be wondering, why would I do that? I want to meet with someone higher up. But here's the thing. Those people will give you the real insight of what it's like to be in that role. And since it's likely to be your next step, don't you want that insight right now? They'll also be the ones to give you recommendations. Say that this person was an assistant and they are planning on leaving their role soon. When they go to leave their role, chances are their boss is going to ask them if they have any recommendations for their replacement. If they met with you a couple months prior and they remember, hey, she's put together and competent, pretty intelligent, she's interested in the role, I already know that, they might recommend you for the job, and that recommendation goes a long way. Now that you've identified who you want your informational to be with, it's time to set it up. Just send them an email or a LinkedIn message, but if you're not sure what to say, I have a template down in the description in my blog post that can help you out. Once you have your informational interview set up, it's time to start preparing. First, it's time to do your research. You're going to want to research the person you're interviewing, and yes, I'm talking about LinkedIn stalking. Don't worry if they know that you looked at their profile. I know LinkedIn does those annoying notifications. It's kind of expected that you will, and if you don't, it might be more a red flag than if you do look them up. When you look them up, try to look for things in common, for example, if you went to the same school. Also, start to get an idea of kind of what their story is. While you'll learn this when you actually meet them, this will help you kind of figure out what questions are appropriate to ask and where you really want the conversation to go. Maybe they started in a different industry similar to you and then finally found a way to merge onto the industry they're currently in that you also want to merge into. Maybe knowing that ahead of time will help you plan what to ask them. Also, if you don't really know much about the company that they work for, make sure to look that up as well. Remember that not only are you learning about them, but you want them to have a good impression of you to be a part of your professional network in the future. Now, you don't have to prepare too many questions ahead of time, but you should have a couple that you're ready to ask when the conversation lulls. It's totally reasonable to start with a simple, tell me a little bit about what you do question, because that'll start the conversation rolling. You should try your hardest to kind of build it as a conversation around their answers, more just a question, answer kind of format. But if you're nervous, it's so much better to be prepared. Write down a couple questions in a notebook and bring it with you, even if you feel totally confident in case you need it. You also need to be prepared to answer questions. I know this might come as a shock, but even though you're interviewing them, they're going to ask about you. Have your tell me about yourself answer nailed down. Sell yourself. They're probably also going to ask you, what do you want to do in your career? And this is totally fine to answer with a, I don't know yet, but something similar to what you're doing. Or, I'm not sure, but this industry really interests me. That's what I did. Now, there are 2 questions that I make sure to always ask at the end of an informational interview. These are kind of like the money questions. These really get down to the reason you're doing the interview in the first place. First, ask, now that you've learned a little bit about me, I'm curious kind of what sort of advice you have for someone in my position. This is the time to get tailored career advice just for you from someone who you admire, who's in an industry that you want to go into, who's at the company that you've dreamed about, who's in your dream job, all these things, tailored career advice for you. This is also the time, if the interview goes really well, for them to say, yeah, I think you're doing all the right things. Just if you see any position open up on our company website, please let me know, and I will gladly be a reference. References are how you stand out in the current job market. The second question, start by flattering them. It was wonderful to talk to you today. And then go into, do you know of anyone else who I should reach out to? This is how you grow your connections. You are then utilizing the connections from this new connection that you have in your network, the person that you're currently interviewing, and they are helping you find other people to connect with. And there's a chance that they might just say, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head, but there's also a chance they might go, you know what? John in accounting, you guys would really click, let me connect you. And there you go. You have another connection within that company and industry. So make sure to add those questions on your list of prepared questions to ask. Now it's time to conduct a successful interview. First of all, if you're meeting in person, arrive a little bit early, look your best. You know, you don't have to dress, suit and tie and all of that, but if you're meeting at the person's workplace, match whatever the workplace dress code is to your best guess knowledge. At the very least, dress business casual. Put your best foot forward. You want them to understand that you are professional and competent. When you greet the person, no matter if it's in person or over phone, say thank you. This is a big one. You are using their time. They are giving this to you for free. They're maybe in the middle of their busy work day. Maybe they're taking their free time outside of work to talk to you. In both situations, you should say, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me. Start by asking them a little bit about themselves. How's their day going? What are they up to right now? Tell me a little bit about your job in your own words. That'll start the conversation going. Then try to ask questions based on their answers so that it stays a little relevant. If the conversation gets a little stale, don't be afraid to pull out your notebook and reference the questions that you prepared ahead of time. That reminds me, make sure you bring a notebook with you to write down any answers, or maybe to give you their email address or someone else to reach out to. Bring a notebook so you're well prepared to write that down. Now make sure that you also share about yourself in the interview. Chances are at some point they're going to ask you, oh, also, what is it that you do? Or tell me a little bit about yourself. But in case they don't, find a way to work it in. For example, if one of their answers really interests you, say, that reminds me, I'm really interested in that. So I have a background in that same sort of industry, and I currently work for this company doing this. Work in your answer so that they make sure to learn about you. Then at the end of the interview, make sure to ask those 2 questions that we talked about, the money questions, those super important questions to end off the interview. And then at the very end of it, thank them again for their time. After the interview is over, shoot them over a super quick thank you note, whether by LinkedIn message, email, whatever sort of contact you had with them from the beginning, just send over a thank you. If it was a connection of a connection and you didn't actually reach out to this person on your own, send your connection. I met with Sally today and I just wanted to say it went fantastic. Please send along my gratitude. If while you were chatting they offered to connect you with someone, in a thank you note is the perfect way to follow up on that and kind of nudge them on it. You can do this by saying something such as, thank you again for recommending that I reach out to Mark in accounting. I'm looking forward to meeting with him. This will put it into motion where it will remind them, right, I need to connect them with Mark in accounting, and they'll send an email and get it all going. After you send the thank you email, make sure to add them on LinkedIn. Since you've already stalked them anyway, might as well add them to your connection and make it LinkedIn official. Finally, stay in touch. Don't let your connection go stale. You worked hard to get them in your network. Keep them there, especially if they offer to be an internal referral for a certain position. If a position opens up that you're interested in, shoot them an email, include your resume and a link to the job description and say, hey, I remember that we talked about this forever ago and I just wanted to send it along to you. Do you know any other information about this job description? This opens the door for them to either say, yes, I think you'd be a great fit, or because you are friends and you are a connection, for them to be honest and say, yeah, I know about this. I don't think it's the right fit for you, but I'll keep an eye out, which is just as beneficial. All right, and that's everything you need about informational interviews. Make sure to check out the links in the description where I have the whole thing written out if you need to reference it at a different time. Please comment below if you've ever done an informational interview that has been successful, or if you're gonna try one after watching this video. Please let me know how it goes. If you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe so that I know to make more career-focused videos for young professionals in the future. Good luck with those informationals. Thanks for watching.